For all my 80s power ballad fans, it's the final countdown. Welcome. We are True Crime and Wine Couple. Counting down to Delphi, which I don't think is going to happen, but we'll talk about that later.
Yes.
Grab your favorite beverage and come back and join us. We got a lot to talk about this week. And we're very happy to be back with you after we had been feeling under the weather, but here we are. Okay, so you're going to start with our girl Karen Reed?
Yeah, so we're going to be going through three different trials that are happening.
Prominent this week.
Right.
Well, two are prominent this week.
And
one is coming up. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff dropping. Maybe.
But the first one we're going to go over is the Karen Reed trial. If you've been following along with that, there's been a lot of fireworks going on with that, a lot of questionable law enforcement investigations, tactics, cover-ups, you name it. There's a dude named Turtle Boy. I mean, this has pretty much everything. There was a reference to my cousin Vinny during the trial this week. You get a little bit of everything.
Yeah, is anybody else? I just want to know. I have been in my car listening to YouTube videos, and I'm in my car, and I find myself going, "Free Karen Reed." I even have my pink on. Free Karen Reed, and I don't even know if she should be freed, but you just feel like you have to join in.
Almost, yeah. So yeah, there's tons. If you've been watching it on even leading up to the trial, there's been tons of protests. Karen Reed has a lot of support, and I you know, when you're looking at it just from afar, it's like, all right, whatever, just let it go to trial and then it'll all get figured out. But as you dig more deeper into it, it's like, oh boy. And this, unfortunately, seems to ring true to a lot of other cases where it seems to be more and more and more questionable law enforcement tactics. You can't even, it's almost like you can't trust the law enforcement anymore. Now, just for a little bit of background, this case is taking place right outside of Boston. If you are familiar with the Boston Police Department over the decades, over the years, you know, we're going back 50 years.
Right.
The Boston Police Department has been notoriously corrupt, and they have, you know, and there's been a lot of investigations. As a matter of fact, they're under investigation. It's either the Boston Police Department or the Canton Police Department. The Canton Police Department is where this took place. Canton, Massachusetts, are under federal investigation as we speak because of this case. So there's a lot of weird stuff going on. But so basically, on January 29th, 2022. John O'Keefe, who was a Boston police officer, died. Now, the prosecution is alleging that his girlfriend, Karen Reed, who was on trial, ran him over intentionally because they had had a fight and then left him out in the cold to die. So that's what they're saying has happened. The defense is saying, no, let's back up the train here a little bit. Right. That's not even close to what happened. And the more and more and more, and really the prosecution is hanging their hat on one big thing that I can pinpoint. This is what they're really hanging their hat on, is that when the first responders got there when they're responding to the call, mainly the paramedics and the firefighters who were trying to save John O'Keefe's life at the time, stated that Karen Reed said, I hit him. I hit him. I hit him.
Is he dead? Is he dead?
And then, then is he dead? It's my fault. All these different things. So that's what they're hanging their hat on. And initially, this was only a manslaughter case. Then it went through in front of a grand jury. The grand jury was presented with tons and tons and tons and tons of witnesses, evidence, and they came back with, no, we're going for murder.
Right.
But now this week has really focused mainly on those first responders. And those first responders are now all over the place. And nobody can corroborate anything. And they're all changing their stories.
They're coming across as corrupt AF, especially the dude that searched her phone for the nudes.
Well, I didn't even get to that yet.
Sorry. They're calling him what are they calling him? The Lance Ito? Lance Ito was the... Oh, no, you know what they called him on one of the podcasts? The Mark Furman of the Karen Reed case. I thought that was brilliant, yes. Right?
Mark Furman from O.J. Simpson.
There you go.
But so now they're on the stand. The defense is pretty much totally wiped out that she said any of that. That they have no proof that she said any of that.
No, it's all innocent.
And also, even if she did say it, she's in shock. The dude's laying there. She tried to save him. She was giving him CPR. She was giving him mouth to mouth. She had blood all over her mouth from doing that. But,
and they were out drinking and partying, right?
Yes, they were all drinking and partying.
So who the heck knows?
Right. So what happened was they were all out for the evening with a bunch of friends, and then after that, they all went back to a dude's house named Brian Albert. Brian Albert is also a Boston police officer. He's in one of the really top-notch task forces, so he's a big deal.
Well, it was an affluent neighborhood, and the house was it was
beautiful.
It was a decent house.
If anybody in Massachusetts is extremely expensive, so
absolutely.
I can't even imagine.
Especially that area.
Yeah. He's an MMA fighter. He's so the dude is big time. And then the other person that I'm going to mention in this is Jennifer McCabe, who is not only a friend of Karen Reed, but she's also Brian Albert's sister-in-law.
Right, yep.
So there's a connection there. Now, there has been some back and forth on the fact that for some reason, John O'Keefe and Brian Albert had an issue.
Gotcha.
That has not been brought out in trial yet. I've just seen that before the trial.
But for all intents and purposes, they said this guy was a stand-up guy, right?
Yeah, he took in his
niece and nephew.
His niece and nephew after their parents had passed.
After both, like the mom died and the dad died in 2 months, like these poor kids, And she was living with him and helping him raise the kids.
And they were living together. Karen Reed and John O'Keefe were living together.
So obviously she was committed to him and him raising his kids, as a couple,
So, but there is indications that there was issues in the relationship. But every relationship has issues, so you can't really say, okay, they had a fight, so that led to murder. Right. I don't think you can make that connection. I just really don't. But anyway, so getting back to the timeline.
You could maybe if there was a history of prior violence or something. But there was no history of any violence between the two of them.
No.
No. But if there's a history of prior violence, you could make the
connection. Then you can, right. So the timeline is they were out to dinner, they went out for drinks, and then they all went back to Brian Albert's house, the Boston police officer. This is where everything there's no evidence of anything at this point. Prosecution is saying Karen Reed dropped him off, he got out of the car, she was doing a 3-point turn, she hit him, and left him there to die. What I find very odd about all of this, now, if you've done any research on this at all, you'll notice that you'll see that there is a video of Karen Reed at John O'Keefe's house earlier in the morning, like after she dropped him off, she went home, and then there's a video, a ring cam video of her backing up and hitting his car.
Right.
That's what the defense is saying, how her tail light got broken. Prosecution is saying her tail light got broken when she hit John O'Keefe. Also, which this is the part that really swings me over to Karen Reed's side. First of all, Jennifer McCabe left the home of Brian Albert sometime around 1:30 a.m. The house is basically, you have the house, you have the garage, you have a short driveway. It's not a real super long driveway. It could probably fit 3 cars end to end, about that long. and maybe
If
two
they
side
were
by
off
side.
to- Yeah.
And then it goes right out onto the road. The house is here, so she'd have to walk out the sidewalk, get in her car, and drive away. She left at 1:30, which was at least an hour to an hour and a half after Karen Reed had dropped off John O'Keefe.
Right.
So if John O'Keefe had been hit by Karen Reed, why did not Jennifer McCabe see him? Now, yes, it was snowing.
Well, the body wasn't found though in the driveway. The body was found off to the left of the house.
Right.
Because Vinny was there. Vinny Politan from Court TV did a whole thing. Yeah.
Like on this side.
Right. So how did the body get over there if Karen Reed hit him with the car like that?
None of it makes any sense. But so why didn't Jennifer McCabe see it? Number one. Number two, if you've seen the autopsy photographs, this dude is beat up. Mm-hmm. He has bite marks, scratches on his arms. He has bruises on his face. His knuckles are bruised, like when you get into a fight.
There was even glass, right? Was he holding a glass?
He was holding a glass from the bar.
Into his finger?
From the bar, yeah.
Yeah, there was that too.
So none of it is consistent with being like, if you're going to, so it's the middle of winter, it's freezing out, they're in the middle of a blizzard, you get hit by a car, okay, you can understand getting hit by the car, getting knocked over, and hitting your head back on the driveway, and that you can understand that, but the car hitting you is not going to cause all this other damage.
The injuries were not consistent
that he had on his body.
And then if he got hit and he was holding a glass, wouldn't the impact of the hit have made her drop the glass?
You would think, yeah.
Yeah, like it wouldn't, to me, a beat down would force that glass into your hand. Because you're clutching the glass as you're getting beat down, as opposed to you get hit and you drop the glass, right?
And also, Brian Albert had a German Shepherd who apparently did not like strangers or didn't like other people. So if they got into a fight in the house, that is very easily, and you look at those marks on his arm, they definitely look like dog bites.
I've been rescuing animals for 20 years, 25 years. I have seen dog bites. I have seen what they look like. I have seen what small dog bites look like, big dog bites, and it looks like that dog grabbed him with its teeth by the arm, and it was, because it looked like a canine tooth laceration.
And think about it also, when you're getting attacked by a dog, what's the first thing you do? You put your arm up for protection. So that. Now,
which is what you're not supposed to do if you get attacked by a dog. You're supposed to cross your hands over your arms and look up. There you go. There's a tip for listeners. But that's what you're supposed to do.
But then you're panicked and that's
right. Exactly right.
Now, the other thing that really, really, really is convincing me that something else is going on here. Jennifer McCabe, who is going to, she might not want to, but she's going to be the center of this trial. She Googled at 2:27 a.m., and this was verified by the FBI. So this wasn't something that's just out there.
Right.
This was verified by an FBI analyst. At 2:27 a.m., Jennifer McCabe Googled how long to die in cold.
That was not Baldwin and Rosie's version of geofencing. That was an actual.
That was an actual thing. Why? At 2:27 a.m., which was hours before he was found. He wasn't found until almost 6 a.m. So why at 2:27 a.m. is she Googling how long to die in cold?
Well, and that's another thing. When Karen Reed first hit him, he wouldn't have been covered by the snow, right? He wouldn't have been covered by the snow unless they left him lying there for, right? Because it wasn't the full blizzard that would have covered him yet at that point. Right. And there was a blizzard, too.
There was a blizzard, right. So then you get into all then from there it just gets into all the cover-ups, and I'm sure that'll all come out. But the lead investigator for the Massachusetts State Police, Michael Proctor, is now under investigation. But apparently he took her phone without a warrant, conducted a search on her phone, and he was texting all his buddies, making it, texting him that I'm looking for nudes, but I haven't found any yet, but I'm still looking for her naked. And also texting that I really hope she commits suicide. That'll put an end to all this. He is friends with Brian Albert. He is so all this law enforcement community is very interconnected. They all know each other.
Mm-hmm. They all protect each other.
I just don't see how they're going to get a conviction. The one other thing before, I end on the Karen Reed, because like I said, we just got started. We probably have another at least 6-7 weeks to go with this. The other thing they did this week was they did a little field trip to go out and look at the scene of the crime. I don't really know what the hell they were going out there to look at. All you're seeing is a yard, a street. I don't know. But they went out. But the first thing that struck me when I saw that they're going on this field trip is Brian Koberger. Brian Koberger's jury is never going to have the opportunity to go look at that house, to do a walkthrough of the house, which I find amazing.
It's deplorable. It's deplorable that
that jury would get so much more out of walking through that house than this jury did to go out and look at a mocked up Lexus. It wasn't even Karen Reed's Lexus. It was just a mocked up Lexus and the house.
They didn't even go in the house, did they?
Well, the investigators never went in the house.
Well, and they can't even prove that he even went in the house, right?
No.
Is there any proof he was in the house? There's no video or anything of him in the house, right?
No, not that I'm aware of, but now apparently the defense has his steps, which is going to be interesting. They have how many steps he took. They have him going up steps. So that evidence is going to be very interesting when that comes out, because if it can show, and I did look at my phone, and if you look, I have an iPhone, so pull up your iPhone and pull up your health app.
Right, we don't know what it would be on an Android. But
right, yeah, I have no idea about an Android, but I know on an iPhone, pull up your health app, and that will take you minute by minute what you were doing. So if they know that he was going from the bar to the house at such and such a time, there wouldn't be any steps. And so then the next steps would be him getting out of the car. How many steps did he take? If you get hit by a car, you're probably going, what, maybe 5-10 steps.
Right, and sadly they don't have footprints or anything.
Because of the snow. Yeah, but if he took more than 5 or 10 steps, that means he did not get hit, he went somewhere. We don't know if it was in the house or not, but he went somewhere.
Right.
So that's going to be really interesting to when that evidence comes out. And I think this trial is really going to start to heat up once the defense, and by the way, Karen Reed has some really high-powered attorneys from out on the left coast.
She's got Phil Spector's attorney.
Yeah.
Another thing too, I'm interested to see is the dog going to be forensically investigated?
I don't know.
Could they have because they probably could have conducted a search of the dog's mouth, right? Or the wounds, did the wounds were consistent with dog saliva? Because there would have been that kind of stuff going on. And they haven't gotten to the dog yet. Court TV says they're going to talk about the dog. They're going to say where the dog is. They're going to say what's going on with the dog. Because I'm really interested to see that.
Right, and that was the amazing part, too, of the investigation. They never went in the house. They never searched the house.
No.
Nothing. Nothing was done within the house. So they just automatically said, okay, this is it. This is the crime scene. We don't need to look at anything. We don't need to talk to anybody. We don't need to do anything. And then the other thing that's going to be interesting, too, is when the defense starts talking about the taillight, the broken taillight, and the timeline of when those taillight fragments were found, which is almost 12 hours after they're saying he was hit.
Plus, would a person
nothing was found.
Break a tail light? I'm assuming they're going to conduct it for.
It depends on how. I guess it depends on how it hits you, but yeah,
or what you're wearing or whatever.
Or what you're wearing.
Yeah, because normally a tail light gets hit if you're hitting like a really hard flat surface.
Right.
But
the defense is saying that those fragments weren't even found until 12 hours later, when Michael Proctor went back and all of a sudden magically found some fragments.
It's a miracle.
And then like a day or two later, the Canton police chief, oh my God, here's more fragments. where the hell did all these fragments come from, and why weren't they found at the time? Why weren't they found during the initial investigation? It's all very hinky. It's going to be very interesting to watch. Stay tuned on that one, because I think there's going to be a lot of fireworks once the defense starts presenting their case.
If I was Karen Reed, I would so want a turtle boy in my life. Wouldn't you?
And we'll get into Turtle Boy at a later date, because I don't think Turtle Boy is ever going away.
This woman is not backing down. I mean, she's staring down everybody, but sadly she screwed herself over because she wanted to see the jury to confront the jury.
Right.
So they took her and they put her in this postage stamped jury room where basically it's her, whoever's testifying, the families, and that's it.
And that's it.
Right,
yeah,
so all her supporters can't, and they're keeping her supporters like away from the courthouse and.
Yeah, I think they settled on 200 feet because they wanted 500. They appealed that, and I think they all settled on 200 feet.
If they don't investigate this dog after they took Rex Heuermann's old cat, I'm going to be so ticked. You know what I mean? And that's why I think, I have two reasons I think she's innocent. The Google search, and I saw the marks on that man's arm, and that to me...
look at the autopsy photos.
I'm no medical examiner, but I'll tell you what, any person on any jury is going to see that and say NFW.
The photos that I've seen are not super gruesome, so you're not going to get really...
No, at least one person is going to think she's innocent on that jury.
Yeah.
I think, in my opinion.
But we will be digging into this a lot deeper as the weeks go along, because there is a lot of angles to this, and it reminds you of Delphi as well, with these corrupt police departments. What are what are they doing? What kind of investigative tactics are they using?
They're covering up for each other.
Is it covering up?
Look at the Rex Heuermann case. I mean, that guy ruined the whole thing. You know, and I don't understand. They kicked the FBI out. I don't think you should be able to. I think the FBI should be involved in these high-profile cases no matter what. Because you know what, Delphi might have turned out very differently if they had left the FBI on, and so would have Liz.
Yeah. Well, Liz definitely.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I mean, they might
Liz
have solved that.
would have been solved a lot sooner.
You know, now they've got 2 more victims there. Another thing that cracks me up about police responses to things. If any of you have watched the Chad Doberman, like when they took him into custody, those police were so freaking professional with that man. And that man didn't deserve it, in my opinion, at all. And then you see these other people that are following. He wouldn't even stand up, and they kept telling him, stand up, stand up. He would not stand up. His dog was going after him. I mean, you see them on video shooting chihuahuas in a yard because the chihuahua, you know. And those cops were impeccable. If every cop could conduct themselves like that, we would have no trouble like this going on.
Yep.
You know, that was amazing to me. So if you want to see like a really good example of how they should arrest somebody, the Chad Doberman case, which we will be following. Now that's postponed. It was supposed to go to trial in July, but that's going to be postponed because if you're following that, he's going for the insanity defense. So now he has waived his right to the speedy trial, and they're going to decide if he can withstand the death penalty.
Right.
Like not withstand, but get tried for it. You know? They said he's going to have to withstand it if that's what he's convicted of.
Right.
So what do you think? You think Karen's walking?
I'm not going to make a decision till the end, because you never know what's going to come out in court. But you know, you're just, as a human being, you make your initial assessment when you look at the facts that are, or not. Well, I guess they're not facts until they're presented in court, but the things that are presented to you at this point, I would lean towards her walking.
And it's really interesting to watch because Court TV is broadcasting from pizza places, barbecue places.
Such a small little town.
Such a small town. So like Vinnie Politan will be sitting there with his 2 dudes in his think tank from Court TV, you know, talking about stuff in some bar.
Right.
And then everybody be sitting back about, you don't normally see that. You see them in the studio.
Exactly.
It's kind of like election night.
Yeah.
Yeah, when they, you know. So that's Karen Reed.
That's Karen Reed, yes. And again, we will be covering this a lot over the next 6-7 weeks.
And we need a poll. I think we need to put up a poll. I want to
that's a good idea.
Okay,
we'll put up a poll on our community page.
All right, so the next trial that started this week was the Treadmill abuse murder trial, and sadly, that's really close to us. That's in New Jersey. And it's been really interesting for me to watch because, because we're close to New Jersey and things like that.
Right.
It's a horrible story. This young boy, 6 years old, died. They have a video of 12 days before his death of his father abusing him on a treadmill, jacking it up so the kid couldn't keep up with it. The kid fell 6 times. The dad picks him up, puts him back on the treadmill. At one point in the video, he appears to be sinking his teeth into the child's head. It's just it's really difficult to watch. I think the mother was a very caring person, but she got involved with drugs, and then this man, Christopher Gregor, who's on trial, he's Corey's dad. The child's name is Corey Michello because the mother's name is Brianna Michello. So Corey's dad is Christopher Gregor. And what happened was the mother sued Christopher when Corey was 4 for child support, and that's when Corey took custody. And she had issues with drugs, so Christopher took custody. So Christopher had full custody, and then when she got herself off the drugs and she got visitation, and she did have visitation with the child. And the treadmill abuse incident hit really close to home for me because we travel from the Poconos from Scranton to the Poconos on weekends. And I can just tell you that getting into New Jersey via Interstate 80 is just insane. Like you will it can take you hours to get into New Jersey. Yeah. If you hit that on a Sunday at 5 p.m., it's going to be hours. So what had happened was the mother had taken the son to visit her dad in Abington, which is outside of Scranton, Pennsylvania, which is the area I'm from. This is really hitting close. And she was stuck in traffic, and she kept, texting the dad, I'm stuck, I'll get there when I get home. And the dad got more and more enraged. So when she did finally get back to town, the dad said, meet me in the workout center for the apartment complex. And that's when the treadmill abuse went down. Now, after that, the mother did take the son to get evaluated, and he was evaluated by a pediatrician before the death. And at that time, he was in okay shape. He had bruises on his chest and abdomen and arms, but all his vitals were good, according to this pediatrician who testified. Then, days later, the dad took him to the hospital. And then they had a nurse testify who was working in the emergency room. And by the time the dad took him into the hospital, he died there. He died 12 days later. And his attorneys are saying that the child died of sepsis, which was a complication of pneumonia. And according to what the prosecution is saying, the child had a lacerated liver and he had heart injuries. So he had internal injuries in addition to the external injuries. Right. And they're saying he died of blunt force trauma. It just seems to me like this man did not want to pay child support for this kid.
No, that's what it sounds like.
And it's really sad that he didn't come into this child's life until the child was 4, and then the child's dead at 6. Now, it was shortly before the child's 7th birthday that he passed. Right. It's really hard to watch, if you're... I'm interested in it because of being a teacher and being a mandated reporter and the proximity, to our area and things like that. Another interesting thing is that I have also had dealings with the Department of Child Protection and Permanency. And my dealings with them have been very good, in fact. In fact, the one woman I dealt with from the headquarters, remember, yeah. I had a student, we're mandated reporters, so I had a student that I had to report abuse. She came in and cut up. And that woman called us, remember, it was what, a month later maybe, we were at dinner,
we were sitting down eating
and
dinner,
she called me to follow up with me and tell me, that things were founded and what they were doing, and, to thank me for reporting, which I would have done it anyway for the student. We were close, but we're mandated reporters, so it's interesting to me in that respect.
Right.
And Court TV covered it, so I pretty much do follow what Court TV is covering. So if you are interested, it's very difficult to watch. the treadmill, and that's the thing. When he abused him on this treadmill, it was recorded, so you can see, the recording. I also watched a very interesting. His name is Dr. G. He's a psychologist, and he talked about the dad's demeanor on the stand when the video was being played, and analyzed his body language, and that was really interesting. And let me tell you, this man just looks pure evil. His eyes are just angry. He's shooting daggers at everybody. It's really, and the judge, I have to say, is a stand-up guy, but he looks like he's straight out of Jersey Shore. He looks like the situation grew up and became a judge. And they've got the thick Jersey accents. And then Gregor's attorney is from Staten Island, so he's got the real heavy New York accent. So that's kind of been interesting. It's interesting because New Jersey is just its own country,
right.
Almost. You know what I mean? So that's been interesting. It's horrible. It's sad. I just and they offered him a 30-year plea deal and he wouldn't take it. So now he's facing 30 minimum, and that's what he's definitely going to get, in my opinion.
I think so too.
Yeah, I'm thinking he's going to get life without parole.
And I think
New Jersey does not have the death penalty.
Right.
Chad Dorman, Ohio's coming for you. They have the death penalty.
And then the other thing with this case too is that if you're looking at it, a lot of people are going after the mother. The mother is not a saint by any stretch of the imagination. This kid had probably no shot with these parents, with either one of them. However, I don't think the mother was abusing him. The mother was negligent. The mother was a drug addict. The mother had some serious issues.
And he survived 4 years in her custody.
Exactly. Right? So he did, when he was with her, he was alive. But let's just put it that way, he was alive. Right. And then when she noticed things happening, she did take steps. She didn't just ignore it like a lot of these mothers do. She did, so she took it to the pediatrician to see if there was child abuse going on. Yeah. She did go talk to child services. So there were things that she was doing proactively.
Well, she filed for protective custody.
Right. So
and that he died the day after the state denied it. And she is going to sue. In New Jersey, it's called DCPMP, Department of Child Placement and Permanency. So
she wasn't off drugs. She was still texting people to find drugs. So like I said, I'm not saying this woman was perfect, but I also don't think it's fair to her for people saying this is all her fault.
And she was 17 when the child was born.
And that's another thing. She's super young. But, and that's really no excuse, but she's still, I don't think you can come up with cases where you can see that mother didn't give a damn about that kid. She was protecting the boyfriend, whoever, the baby daddy, or just the dude in the house, to where that mother's culpable. But in this case, she's a drug addict, very irresponsible, but I don't think that she deserves, at least with anything I've seen so far, I don't think she deserves the hate.
Had she not sued for child support, this kid would be alive. I think he was angry that he had to pay for child support, and he wanted nothing to do with this. So I think Christopher Gregor will get life in prison. I think he should have taken the plea deal. Because if he got 30 years, he'd be out by 60, because he's only in his early 30s. So, but I think he's going to spend life in prison.
So do I, and I think he should.
I don't see how the jury can watch that video and not convict the guy.
Right, exactly.
It's kind of like where there's smoke, there's fire, in my opinion.
Definitely. And like you said, the kid was alive for 4 years with the mother, and now the dude comes in and now he's dead.
Yeah, and the mother shows a lot more remorse and sadness and things like that on the stand. The dad did cry at the autopsy report. But
crocodile tears or real tears?
It wasn't real, obviously.
Exactly.
So if you're into horrible things, like I said, I'm watching it because of the proximity to the area and the fact that, I could just imagine that poor mother stuck in traffic, because I've been there,
Yep, exactly.
And my family gets angry with us because we won't go to Scranton on on
the
major
weekends.
holidays or weekends, and they don't realize why, because they don't drive to the Poconos.
If you've ever driven Route 80 from Jersey into Pennsylvania, it's
or the other way around.
Or the other way around, depending on what part of the weekend it is. It's just a total traffic jam.
It's insane.
And that road was not designed for the amount of people that come through every weekend.
For sure. So that is the Treadmill abuse murder trial. And that'll go on another 5 weeks That's going to be about a 6 week deal.
So we're looking at 6 to 8 weeks for Karen Reed. We're looking at 6 to 8 weeks for the...
no, 6 to 8 for Reed. I think 6 for Treadmill abuse.
All right, so 6 to 8 for Karen Reed, 6 for Treadmill abuse. And then we have Delphi, which Fran Gall is like, nope. We're doing this in 2 weeks, and that's it. Period. End of sentence. Nothing to talk about here. Nothing to see here.
It's kind of like A Few Good Men. You want a defense, you can't handle a defense, right?
You can't handle the truth. Judge Gold. So a bunch of stuff came out this week in Delphi. What was surprising to me was that the long-awaited contempt decision came out, and surprisingly, she did not find them in contempt of court. I'm talking about Baldwin and Rozzi. So, after all of that shenanigans going on in her chambers, and then it going to the Supreme Court because they're just, they're the worst people on the face of the earth, and she threatened them that, she's like, you either step down or I'm going to publicly humiliate you, which they stepped down and they appealed and then went to the Supreme Court and they got back on. Everybody knows that story. But now they had a hearing, so then the prosecution brought up a hearing for them to be in contempt for A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Basically the same reasons that they were originally kicked off the case by Judge Gold. So I'm like, okay, they're going to definitely be found in contempt. I have no idea what the penalty is going to be. It might just be a fine. Maybe at the end of the trial, they have to sit in jail for a few days. Who knows what it's going to be? Well, Judge Gall is like, no, I guess they really weren't in contempt. And it's funny what she says.
But they get a tongue lashing.
They do get a tongue lashing.
Well, a text lashing.
So she does not find them in contempt. However, despite this court's findings of sloppiness, negligence, and incompetence, so they're sloppy, negligent, and incompetent, the state is required to prove that counsel's conduct was willful and intentional beyond a reasonable doubt. So basically what she's saying is they're just incompetent and sloppy and negligent because that's how they are. They're not trying to be that way. That's just the way they are.
It's kind of like you suck, but you're not criminals.
Exactly. So, as the state has not met that burden, the court declines to find them in contempt of court. I found that very surprising. I really thought that they were going to be held in contempt, but they weren't. But, almost as bad. She is going to tattle on them to the Indiana State Bar. The person who's in charge of overseeing these attorneys and looking at that kind of thing. It's so stupid.
If she hates them so much, and a lot of people said this on Reddit and in the comments on, a lot of the podcasts and stuff I watch, why appoint them? Why not just appoint Grado and Scrimmin from the get-go?
And the other thing is her and Baldwin are working another murder case.
But the thing is, Libretto's actually a public defender. These guys, she gets him these private attorneys. You know what I mean?
I know. I don't know.
Who have more than 30 years experience between the two of them.
Right.
I mean, Baldwin he's got to be in his 50s, 60s. So that dude's been practicing a while.
But the biggest one to come out this week. Now, I have been in the camp that this trial is going to go off on May 13th, come hell or high water. She is locked in. She has no way to get out of it at this point. Because of the speedy trial, because she did, when they forced her into the speedy trial, her out at that point could have been, I don't have room on my calendar. This is the next time that I have room on my calendar, which apparently is something that they can do.
And then remember at the time she had been sick and working remotely.
Exactly.
Right? There was that going on too.
So I was like, okay, once she got this put on her calendar, she's really locked in.
Right.
Oh, did I underestimate Judge Gold?
Yes.
Whoa, did I ever. So, and I am still in the conspiracy theory, and I said this on another video, and I was half kidding, that Slick Nick and Judge Gull are having an affair, and they're sort of orchestrating all this together.
Maybe an emotional one.
Maybe. I don't know. I don't know. There's something weird going on between the judge and the prosecution in terms of just the way the decisions are made. And the defense brings it up all the time. But anyway, getting back to the March 13th trial date, I was in the camp that there's no way that can... I'm sorry, May 13th trial date.
March 13th be over by now.
Yes, it would. According to Judge Gall, it would have been long over, yeah. So I'm in the camp that there's no way that this is going to get delayed. It's going to have to go on. But like I said, I did underestimate Judge Gall. So...
Sister don't play.
She does not play. So she came out with a declaration. This trial will take place on May 13th. It will run Monday through Saturday. We will have court on Saturdays. We will take Sunday off. But this is going to get done between the dates of May 13th and May 30th.
Like it or not.
Period. End of sentence. That is what's going to happen. I don't care. Get your ducks in a row. Get your witnesses ready. There's no screwing around. You're going to get these in front of me, and we're going to get done. And I've done death penalty cases before, and I've done it in that time period, so that's it.
So you get no experts and no time for you. She's kind of like she's like the trial Nazi.
Yes.
Like the soup Nazi, but the trial Nazi. Yeah.
And as the defense points out, because she has declined every single motion that they have put in front of her.
Except didn't hold them in contempt of court.
Except the contempt of court. They're going to have to argue these things up to the bench. So they're going to have to have sidebars. They have to go up to the bench. So they're going to have to argue these things throughout the trial, which is going to slow down the trial. Slick Nick has over 90 witnesses he's going to be calling. Mm-hmm. Plus all the exhibits. How in the hell is Slick Nick going to get that done? To be fair, get it done in a week.
As a perfect example, Karen Reed's prosecution has 70 witnesses. Prosecution, that's a 6 weeks trial.
Right.
Delphi, Slick Nick has 90-ish, and Bradwin and Rosie have 70-ish.
Right.
The math ain't
mathin'.
The math ain't mathin'. I always say that to my students in algebra and geometry. Nope. Come on, Judge Gall. Apparently math was not very strong.
So they filed a motion so that they could have a pretrial hearing, so that hearing is happening on May 7th. Now, I just wanted to read one part of this filing. On April 28th, at 11:15 a.m., the court directed an email, which Mary's going to read here shortly, to both the state and defense addressing various legal and logistical matters associated with the forthcoming jury trial. In the second to last paragraph of the email, the court, without any prompting by lawyers from either side, including the following statement. I am quite familiar with the law regarding third-party perpetrators, and unless the defense can provide a nexus between any alleged third-party perpetrator and the charged crime, those allegations are unsupported and will be inadmissible. So a little background on that. Slick Nick had filed a motion saying that they cannot bring up anything having to do with Odinism, anything having to do with Elvis, Brad Holder, Ron Logan. They can't even mention those names. That's going to be part of the hearing.
Defense.
That's their whole defense. And that is not their defense. This defense was brought up initially by law enforcement. Law enforcement took that and ran with it. Todd Click, Ferenczi, and the other dude, I can't, off the top of my head, I can't remember what his name was, but 3 law enforcement investigators basically came up with the defense, this whole defense. So it's not like they're pulling it out of thin air. The nexus is law enforcement. It all goes back to law enforcement.
By the way, did you see the way that Ferenczi had died? It was pretty sus. We discussed
hugely,
that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hugely. So it is going to be extremely interesting between the fact that she's basically saying to Baldwin and Rozzi, you cannot present your defense. I am not going to allow it. You can't bring up any of these alternate theories. Period. End of sentence. That's going to be part 1 of it.
No defense for you.
And then the second part is going to be the time.
No time for you.
How in the hell can, like,
well,
McClelland is not going to get through all of his prosecution within that 2 weeks.
A month ago, it was about a month ago, right? We had this discussion. And my girl Anya from the Murder Sheet, shout out to Anya from the Murder Sheet, said there is no way this is going down on the 13th.
And I said she's full of crap.
And I totally agreed with my girl Anya. And he said,
no.
It
is
but
happening,
some of these
and it's going to get done.
that even the prosecution is requesting things from the defense that they have 30 days to get to them, and that they won't be getting that to them until the
trial's over. Exactly. It's absolutely ridiculous.
Now, so one good thing that did come out of this is that Judge Gull finally declared Anthony Greeno a media outlet of true crime investigates, because he had petitioned her to have cameras in the courtroom, and at first she said he was not a media outlet, but then she redacted that, but she's still not going to have cameras in the courtroom.
No, but she is acknowledging
that was a very important document to come out of Delphi.
A media outlet.
If you get a chance, the dude cracks me up. But I have to say, he did an awesome reenactment video.
He really did.
It was amazing. The dude can make a video.
The dude is very talented.
Nobody ever calls and goes head to head with them, though, in the Delphi discussions, because I think they're afraid. But yeah, so she did declare him a media outlet. So that was very important and integral to the case.
So
I have to make light of it because it's so upsetting. It really is.
It's ridiculous, and this is not furthering the closure for those families.
Another thing that bothers me, if you follow cases, and here I go back to Chad Dorman, because that is the one that I am up that case's butt lately. The way that man, who basically confessed to shooting his 3 young sons, murder execution style, is being just a little bit more, is being treated, versus Richard Allen, who, he confessed, but under duress. It's just the contrast between these two people and the way they're being kept and treated is just crazy to me.
And then the behaviors of law enforcement is a parallel between this and the Reed case.
It's just insane. I guess if you're going to do these things, do them in Ohio and don't do them in Indiana. Like, I don't know. It's just crazy.
Right. But anyway, so May 7th is going to be this pretrial hearing. Now, it's going to be very interesting to see what Judge Gull comes back with, because if she's going to come down with a ruling on that day, and it is against the defense. So if she rules that it's going to happen in those 2 week in that 2-week period, and that's all you get, or if she's showing no flexibility in that timeline whatsoever, or she just definitively rules that you are not going to be able to present your case, I can guarantee you at that point this will be appealed. And I really honestly think that's what she wants. That's why I'm saying I underestimated Judge Gull. She is putting the defense into a corner and making them appeal. Once they appeal that decision, that will automatically scrub the May 13th.
Now, I also we've had this discussion, there could be a possible, not that I believe this, but anything's possible in this crazy case, that this woman wants to have a mistrial.
You've said that too, yes.
Because I could see whoever these white supremacist Odinist people are saying, hey, listen, don't give this dude any advantages. And she truly believes that he's not guilty either. And she's trying to, get a mistrial or an automatic appeal. Not that I believe that, but I'm just saying that is a possibility. It really is.
Well, yeah, because look at Judge Diener, out of the blue, steps down this week. Out of the blue. Now, apparently he's under some sort of investigation.
He'd been on the bench since 2012, right. And he's very young, so he's not stepping down because of his age.
No. So what the hell's going on with that? Why,
Well, so, he signed off on that warrant,
Right, and I'd be interested to see what that investigation's all about.
Right.
Apparently he's under some sort of investigation. I don't know what it's for or what it's about. But that was another weird thing that happened this week. That just out of the blue, he just steps down.
Yeah, that was really strange. And then first it was steps down, and nothing else was reported, and then it was investigation.
Yeah. So it's
just,
Delphi. So
I swear I'm assuming the town just smells like fish because it's so fishy, and it's not the fish in Ron Logan's alibi. It's no. I don't know, And if you are in the Richard Allen is guilty camp, tell us why. There are so many people that flat out believe it's him. And I don't...
And I'm open to that. I'm open to actually, I hope it is him. I really do hope it is Richard Allen,
yes.
That they have the right guy, that they can bring...
But here's the thing.
Closure to the families, get this guy, and just... I really do... hope
juries aren't what they were.
I don't think it is.
They want hard evidence.
Yeah, I just don't think it is.
And eyewitness testimony that's not corroborated by other eyewitnesses. And now they're saying that the whole thing with Libby's cell phone now left the premises.
The geofencing and the cell phone thing is all another. It's going to be. It's unbelievable the amount of. I don't know if it's cover-up. I don't know if it's incompetence. I don't know if it's conspiracy. I don't know what you want to call it at this point because I think all of it is involved somehow. These law enforcement people just really...
Do they not want to work? Are they lazy? I'm calling it a cluster.
Well, it's definitely a cluster, but I honestly think that there's some sort of cover-up going on. That they are honestly and actively protecting a group of people. I don't know why.
And I read that on Reddit. I read that Brad Holder was quoted as saying, not that this is, take this what you will. Like I said, this is our own research. This is our opinion. You have to go and do your own. Please do not. We are like nobody. We are two people coming at you from their den in their house. That he said that, this will never come back on me. I've got way too many people protecting me.
Exactly. And then there's the whole Masonic angle of it. Like a lot of these people are Masons, including Nick McClelland. But then you look back at Nick. All right, so Nick McClelland wasn't actually even involved in this case back when when the murders happened. Nick McClelland was nowhere to be seen.
Speaking of Nick McClelland, so thank you, Court TV. For my birthday, you decided to put out the case against Richard Allen. Thank you. You knew it was my birthday, and you decided to put it out that day. He speaks in the video, and the dude can't string together a sentence. Like if he presented an English class, his teacher would fail him. And he's got very heavy Southern accent. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but
does he?
Yeah, but he sounds like a fool. The dude sounds like he can't basically string together a sentence. I mean, I'm not trying to be rude here.
Well, he can't write a motion to save his life. We've read his.
The more I keep seeing too judges and lawyers, here I go back to Chad Dorman. I can't even listen to the judge in Chad Dorman. It's 2 words and I was counting the words before he said and Lord knows I say and about 1,000 times. But I am so much better. That dude's a judge. He has a legal degree. He spoke in front of courtrooms. It was 3 words and an I was very surprised to hear him speak because up until now we've only seen him carrying his lunch. That's like the one shot they have of the dude, right?
In his pink shirt, yeah.
He's like the bright, elusive butterfly of not love, but of prosecution.
Yeah, he is something.
What's that song? I chased a bright, elusive butterfly of love. They chased the bright, elusive prosecutor of Delphi.
Yep, exactly.
I got some hate on my Petula Clark comment, too.
Why?
Because that was not what the song was about. They were very upset. Someone was a big Petula Clark fan. They did not appreciate my...
And I do owe a huge apology to Petula Clark. Because I had said that she is now turning over her grave because of that comment. Well, the poor woman's not even dead yet. She's still alive.
We're lucky Petula did not see our video and call us out, and we would have had
Petula Clark is still alive. What did I say? She was in her 90s, right? But she is still alive, so you go, Petula Clark.
You go, girl.
Yes, absolutely.
Hopefully people won't be as upset by the final countdown.
No. So this hearing is going to be interesting, and I honestly think that Judge Gull and Nick McClelland have planned it this way because they know that Nick McClelland's not ready to present his case. They need to delay this any way possible, and this way they can get it delayed, and it won't be their fault. It'll be the defense's fault. Oh, you had to go and appeal. Now you appealed? Okay, well now we have to delay, and then I can guarantee you that there will be no openings in Judge Gull's calendar until minimum October, possibly January.
When she gets her date. Now I have the Backstreet Boys in my... Nick McClelland wants it that way, so if he doesn't win the case, he can tour with the Backstreet Boys.
Yes, he can. Yep, absolutely.
He can be in a boy band. He's
got
the look.
Yeah.
So are we ready for my dramatic interpretation of
yes.
Fran's email?
Absolutely.
Okay.
This is her initial response, which is causing the hearing, basically.
So this was filed on April 30th at 8:58 a.m. from the Carroll County Courthouse in Carroll County, Indiana. This is from the Honorable Francis Gull to B. Rosie, Andrew, Baldwin, Slicknick. There's a new person involved, Troll. I don't know who that is. Jennifer and Stacy Diener. So there's two new people involved in the whole
email chain.
No, they're going to be involved in the defense and the prosecution, I think.
Oh, are they?
Yeah. Good morning. I will answer your questions as follows. The intent is that jury selection will take 3 days. Court will be in session in Allen County beginning at 8:30 a.m. and concluding when we conclude for the day. You have all been provided with these sub-panel lists, broken into morning and afternoon sessions. I will forward to you under separate email the seating charts for Courtroom 1 and the strike sheets we will be using for selection. The selected jurors will be sworn in upon selection and ordered to not speak or communicate with anyone about the case and to conduct no research on the case. They will further be ordered to return to the Allen County Courthouse on Thursday morning with their luggage and personal effects, which will be searched by law enforcement officers to ensure that they are bringing nothing electronic or illegal. Once that is complete, they will be transported to their hotels by my staff. The order I referenced above contemplates an invitation to the media to meet with me in the Carroll Circuit Courtroom Thursday afternoon so they can take photographs of the empty courtroom and B-roll footage of the courtroom for their stories and broadcasts and to receive their press credentials. The case was set as a speedy trial at the request of the defendant for May 13th through 31st, 2024. That is the length of the trial, not more or less. When the order was issued, not one attorney notified the court that the length of the trial was insufficient. In fact, it is consistent with the previously scheduled length in January 2024. I intend to start court every morning by 9 a.m. and recess for the day around 5 to 6 p.m. Court will be in session on Saturday, perhaps for the entire day if necessary. Court will be in recess on Sunday to allow the jurors and the parties to rest. I have tried death penalty and life without parole cases in this amount of time, all of them with multiple victims. I find that hard to believe.
So do I.
I am unaware how many witnesses the prosecution intends to call, nor on how long their case will take to present. The defense is claiming it will take a couple of weeks to present its case. I am unsure what exactly the defense intends to present. I am quite familiar with the law regarding third-party perpetrators, and unless the defense can provide a nexus between any alleged third-party perpetrators and the charged crimes, those allegations are unsupported and will be inadmissible. Please be prepared to present your cases timely. Have your witnesses available quickly and promptly. I look with disfavor on counsel attempting to manipulate the presentation of evidence by timing witnesses poorly. That conduct will not be permitted. The jurors' time is valuable, especially since they are sequestered and away from their homes, families, and jobs. Please respect the sacrifices that the jurors are making. Judge Galt.
So there it is.
Get yourself a knife and fork, because you all got served.
She is not budging. And this is going to be the basis for it.
So that's what we watched this week. We're waiting on the Delphi hearing. That should be interesting. Sadly, we won't know anything until after. Or maybe people will report it if they break for lunch.
I think once that hearing is over, we'll have an idea, because we'll know how Judge Gull sort of...
If the trial's really going on the 13th.
And then if that appeal happens, I think once you see an appeal, I think that the trial's going to have to get moved.
Hopefully they'll not leave Richard Allen where he is, but they will.
Oh, they will. They'll definitely will. They're really hoping the dude dies in jail, because then they can just call it over without presenting a case. I really honestly believe that at this point.
This is far beyond Richard Allen, and it's way beyond those poor girls and this terrible crime, and it's not right. It's just, I can't even imagine these poor families.
Nope, none of it's right.
So now the wine.
The wine. You don't know what you've been drinking, do you?
Mm-hmm.
Glenora.
Glenora.
Yeah.
Big fan of Glenora.
Yes, you are. The dry Riesling. This was very good.
Glenora is a nice winery.
Yeah.
If you ever want to stay in the Finger Lakes, they have these beautiful little, they're like a little room with the fireplace in the middle of the room, and they have a really nice place to stay in the winter if you ever want to stay somewhere. And they have a restaurant there and everything too.
Yeah, it was a beautiful.
Like a full service. You get everything.
It's a huge facility.
Yeah, we didn't really like any of the wine, but we liked that Riesling.
This Riesling was really good. Yeah. It was a whole. It was a lot of pomp and circumstance when we walked in there. But also, I think they had an event going on over there too. Yeah. So that might have added to it, where they were funneling people left and right. But
if you need a nice place to stay, Glenora is a nice place to stay, and so is Tauganic Inn and Farms. Yes. They have beautiful rooms. It's like an old-fashioned country inn.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Glenora is on Seneca.
Right.
Yeah. So.
But this dry Riesling is fantastic. It's one of the best ones I've had.
Yes, it's very good.
It's very easily drinkable.
The best dry Riesling I ever had was from Pampas Ass in the Finger Lakes.
Yes.
That was it, but they never made it again.
No, they didn't. Well, they changed. Didn't they change?
Yeah, they changed the name of the winery and everything. Yeah,
they sort of got away from there.
That was the best Riesling I ever had in my life. I could never find it again.
Right.
So, if you ever find a wine you like, buy a bunch of bottles.
Yeah, exactly.
Let us know what you think. Let us know what you're watching. Let us know what you think about Karen Reed. We'll post a poll. If you do watch the Treadmill abuse murder trial, leave me a comment, because I am very invested in that. He's not as much, but that's my jam, being a teacher and stuff. So, right. And Karen Reed's walking, my prediction.
Yes. And
Christopher Gregor is going to prison for life, and Delphi is not going to trial until maybe 2030.
Yeah.
That is our predictions.
Yes.
We are True Crime and Wine Couple. We'll catch you on the flip side.